Hi, everybody. I wanted to join you today. Rather than a video snack with just me talking, I have a great friend, highly respected colleague, Mikey Maynard. Mikey, welcome.
Good day.
Now, so finally, we got somebody with the brains in the outfit to talk rather than just me.
Yeah, you're all the good looks. I'm just the brains.
There you go. So here was what I wanted to talk about today. I've in some of my videos, I've talked about the two schools of thought in sales models or sales go-to-market. One is be the trusted expert and help guide the customer solution, co-create a solution using your business acumen and do business like you're already, sell like you're already doing in business together. Mm-hmm. The other school of thought is what I call divide and optimize. It was described in the book Predictive Revenue from 2011. And it's basically takes a reasonable view of looking at sales as a process with multiple steps, and you're going to break them and you're going to get expert workers doing cold calls, another set of expert workers doing inbound call qualification, another set of experts doing demos, another set of experts doing closing, another expert doing after the close, customer success, farming, whatever you call it.
Right.
Two very reasonable approaches of sales. And the question I wanted to talk about with you today, Mikey, is, are those cold callers in that divide and optimized, can those folks ever be trusted experts? And that is, are they really two different incompatible go-to-market models? Or can you have cold callers that are trusted experts that engage with a customer?
Fair question, big question. First of all, they're different jobs. So the job of the development representative, I think largely was created by Tom Batchelder about 2008, a great book he wrote called Barking Up the Wrong Tree. And the idea was, in an era, 2008, recession hitting, where capital expense budgets are declining, you can't just throw an account executive to the wolves and say, go find some business. So the idea was you'd get a development representative, Mark, you called them cold callers, who would shop around within a client company to try to find the right key decision maker and then establish fit between whatever that company client's problem might be with the solution we're offering. And if you gained agreement on that cold call, that it looked like there was fit, then the end game would be the development representative would set an appointment. And the appointment would be with more of a thought leader, higher order account executive. The deal would be handed over to that individual or team, and they would take it from there. So the end game for the cold calling of the development representative in that department is setting appointments. So it's an appointment setting function. It's not designed to do any trusted leadership. It's simply designed to establish fit and gain agreement on an appointment to continue the conversation. By itself, the skill set and competencies that are involved in that development representative work wouldn't lend themselves to being a trusted expert. Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense. I really think that there's two different models and that they are incompatible. If I look at it from the customer's viewpoint, they are they're buying something that is new to them, new to their company, risky to them, risky to their company, or very complex. And they're saying, I know I need something, but I would sure appreciate some additional points of view, a trusted expert to bounce ideas off of, to help me make a better decision. And if that person coming to them from your company is one of these development reps who's only trying to get an appointment, mm-hmm. you quickly determine, yeah, maybe I want an appointment at some point after I figure out what I want. Mm-hmm. But man, your company sure isn't that trusted expert. I want a trusted expert. I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to get that expertise from somebody. It's just not going to be you.
Seeing today, and the research bears this out, that a lot of economic buyers, officials in companies who could approve massive spends, are begging for a salesperson to call on. I think that day is largely dead. What I'm seeing happen is that the Tom Batchelder, Aaron Ross predictable revenue model from 2008 to 2012 swept the selling community CROs and others were captivated by the idea that you could pre-qualify leads so your highly compensated account executives didn't show up and get blindsided, didn't have the info they needed to be credible with a powerful, important client. And as often happens in our society, that pendulum has swung too far. So what I'm seeing happen is companies are having to add more and more and more sales development reps to do more and more and more cold calling. And at the receiving end, the economic buyer is getting an onslaught of sales pressure that's unwanted, unsolicited, that don't have permission to make these calls. And as a very renowned chief information officer, Paul Tyson, told me recently, Paul said, you have to understand that among chief information officers, you, the sales development representative, calling my people to interest them in your solution makes your company my enemy, because it spawns shadow IT, because your SDR actually reached somebody who has a corporate credit card and they could buy enough of your solution to get started. And the rest of the infrastructure doesn't know about that solution. So it's running fugitive. They actually call it zombie. And so we have all these zombie applications that got sold with the predictable revenue model to low-level buyers with enough authority they could get out a company credit card or issue a purchase order, but it wasn't within the infrastructure plan for the client company. And so now there's a backlash where CIOs and other officers of companies are starting to punish their own people for taking calls, cold calls from sales development representatives, because they've seen what it spawns. So now you're going to have to take 2 aspirin if you're the seller company, or 4 aspirin, or a whole bottle of aspirin to make enough cold calls with enough rejection by officials who know they get punished, so they don't want to talk to you. It's an endless spiral, and I see that model dying, but it's dying by investors putting more and more money behind the old predictable revenue model, which was crafted during the Great Recession. We're in a different era now.
Yeah, I jokingly call it the sales industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's an arms race, and in order to succeed, you got to buy more arms, you got to buy more weapons, I got to buy more sales and marketing automation, because this is getting so out of hand. I've got to eke a little bit more efficiency out of this low yield process.
Mm-hmm.
So as you've been talking, Mikey, I've been thinking about Mikey Maynard's thought leadership on the business development function, not a business development rep, not the cold caller, but the business development. And maybe that's the front end to this trusted expert model, or maybe that's not the way you hybridize, is to get as Mikey describes it, a business development functions, which is different from a lot of BD, biz dev sort of functions. Describe what you think of as true biz dev.
And the problem when we compensate salespeople in the predictable revenue model that's been around 10 plus years is they're only compensated for putting something in the pipeline and closing it. There's no measurement for how well the client was served, or if this was the appropriate solution, or if there was ROI or other value delivered later. It's a one and done, gotcha, move on. The business development role is cradle to grave. It's full life cycle. If you're unhappy, you're going to call me because you trusted me and I made a recommendation. It didn't work out. I own that, right? In today's sales compensation model, there's no ownership for the full life cycle of the customer until, oops, Mark, it's time for their annual renewal. And now customer success has to call them. And guess what? Customer success reps are paid for. Close and do negative churn, meaning upsell them something, and that goes in the pipeline, and they then dump the customer as well.
Yeah.
Sales compensation is not tied to value to the buying customer.
Just this morning, I was on a call with a client who's a SaaS software company, and their VC has told them that in no uncertain terms that they're going to be really paying almost complete attention to ARR, annual recurring revenue.
Yep.
But we both agreed, because he understands he's trying to inculcate, we're trying to grow a force, an entire company of business acumen, trusted advisors. So he's decided rather than take that predictable revenue, that divide and optimize model, he's going to be a trusted expert model, which means he's got to get business acumen on all of his sellers. So we came to an agreement that, yes, you've got to financially, when we look at your financials, it really is all about ARR, but that first R, the recurring, is the key letter in that ARR, because you only make money as an enterprise if they renew, if they recur. Right. And so annual revenue, annual first year revenue gets you nowhere. Right. Annual recurring revenue means that the entire chain of events after that demo is seamless to many, many referrals. It's a flywheel. And if you stop the flywheel when they sign the first deal, you don't get the R, you only get revenue. And so we came to a detente with him saying, yes, you're going to sell ARR, but we're all as a company focusing on the first R.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's wise. Because, you know, a great leader once said to me, Mikey, co-owners equals no owners. So if I sold you, closed you, overcame your objection, got my commission and moved on, it means that now I'm allowing customer success or somebody else to co-own you. There's no more single point of contact. The customer, when there's a problem, can't call a number and get a problem solved. And that then harms the ability to get renewed, which is why it's common in customer success teams to have an acceptable level of what they call churn. What a euphemism. It means pissed off customers who don't renew.
Well, Mikey, great conversation. We could go deeper, and we will at some point, I hope. Thanks.
Thanks for geeking out with me on radical value.
Thank you, Mikey. I really appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for joining us. Do have a high value day.